The 25th Hour Radio Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today, here on Monster Radio, AM1150. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the phone with me today is Rolonda Watts. Rolonda, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me on the show.
Oh, Rob, it's a joy to be here. Thank you so much.
You know, Rolonda, since your days as a daytime TV host and nightly news anchor, you've branched out as an actress, voiceover artist, comedian, and most recently, novelist. And we'll talk about that here in a second because that's actually why Rolonda is here on the show today. But before we get into that, I like to get a little background info on my guest to start the show off. I'm curious, for someone who has spent most of her adult life in the public eye, was it like that, let's say, in high school? Were you always the center of attention?
That's funny. In high school, I did a lot of school plays. I enjoyed acting, and I was in school musicals. I was the president of the Glee Club. Yeah, I was very active, and I think I've always had a big personality. And I've always loved the arts. You know, my father was an artist, and so I was always encouraged to be creative. And I think that's where a lot of it came. But, yeah, I did a lot of school plays, a lot of community plays and musicals. And, Miss Adelaide and Guys and Dolls, Pippin, Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, all of those.
Now, were you a class clown?
I think I had a knack for comedy. And not so much the class clown. I was always the storyteller. I was the one who would go instead to the pajama parties and be the last one to go to sleep because I was up telling ghost stories all night.
Yeah.
I was more of a storyteller.
So as far as journalism is concerned, what made you want to choose that career path over other available career options? And was there any other career fields you were interested in that you had to eventually choose journalism over?
Well, to be honest with you, I always wanted to be an actor. And I, just based on what I just told you from high school, and then I went to Spelman College. I majored in theater arts and majored in English. And as my folks said, you got to have a backup plan for that acting. And to be honest with you, I went to Columbia's Graduate School of Journalism, and I remember telling my dad, I'm not really here for journalism, Dad. I'm really here to audition for Broadway. And my dad was like, good luck. And because I was always a writer, and I figured I could write my way. That would be an excuse to be in school, to be in New York, and I didn't know Columbia was the #1 graduate school for journalism. I went to one audition, Rob, and that was it. It was a cattle call wrapped around the corner of New York City. They treated me like dirt, and I said, I'll be back when you know my name. So and then plus, if you really think about it, back in the late 70s, there weren't many opportunities. Heck, Spike Lee had gone to school with me. The Bill Cosby Show wasn't out yet. There just weren't opportunities for black actors. Mm-hmm. And so I went the proverbial fork in the road and said, well, thank goodness I did have a backup plan. Journalism was my backup plan. And I had a tremendous career in journalism as an investigative news reporter in New York City, went on to Inside Edition to anchor and be a senior correspondent and a producer, then had my own talk show, The Rolonda Show, from 94 to 98. And, so I really had a wonderful career going the fork in the road. And then when my talk show was over in 98, I said, you know what? I still have that passion to want to tell stories in a different way, maybe from a stage or a film. So I wanted to go and try new territory and to try to be more creative. And I didn't want to sit on a porch when I'm 100 years old going, I could have been that actor if I'd only just tried.
Yeah,
and so I can't say that. I did it, and I am a working actor now in Hollywood. So, yeah, it's been an amazing life, and I believe life should be gulped, not sipped, and I think you should go for your passions because when you're happy, that's when the money comes and the success comes. But it's been quite a ride.
So as far as working as a news anchor, daytime talk show host, actress, would you consider being in front of a camera something that came natural for you, or was that something you had to learn to adjust to over time?
Oh no, I was very natural with that. You know, my father he was an artist, and a professor, but he also was he was a camera nut. He was a photographer, professionally also. So there was always a camera in my face. Back before there were moving pictures in most households, my father was sticking a camera in our face. We had movies with no sound, but they were little, and he was still. So I think cameras has always been a part of my life, and I enjoy on camera work. Even when you don't see me, you hear me as Professor Wiseman on Curious George, or the announcer for Divorce Court, or for many years I was also with Judge Joe. And or in a movie like with Tyler Perry's Medea's First Love, Tough Love. It's Medea's Tough Love. His first animated movie, by the way. I play the evil mayor, Betsy Holliday, who's fighting with Medea the whole time. So, you know, if you don't see me, you hear me. I just love, I love the media, every medium. I love to gobble it up.
So let's get into why you're here with me today. Your new book,
Okay.
Destiny Lingers. First of all, being someone who is so successful in television, whether it's on camera or behind the scenes, why branch out to becoming a novelist? What made you want to devote the time it takes to write a book in the first place?
Oh, my goodness, and it is some time, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah. I know it takes time, yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare that you find a journalist who becomes a novelist. And so that was intriguing to me. I wanted to do something different. Also, it's very rare that a novelist writes in first person, so I wanted to challenge myself there, and I'm going to challenge myself and try to get a screenplay out. But there was a story I wanted to tell. How many years have I told so many stories for so many different people? And I thought it was my turn. And I wanted to tell a story that was not only a romance, but also a story of self-discovery of an investigative news reporter in New York City who's chasing down every big story in her career, but she's not paying attention to her own life until she finds this long strand of red hair on her husband's bed pillow. And the only person she knows with red hair is her best friend, Eve. So before she can confront the couple, she's thrown into negotiating a hostage situation. She's so messed up in the head, she has to go back home to get herself together down in North Carolina to sit by the beach. And she meets this police chief. There's this uncanny familiarity. And come to find out, he's the little boy she was in love with, but couldn't be with because of segregation. Time moves on, but destiny lingers. So it's not only a story of romance and getting a second chance at your first love, but it's also a story about racism, classism, and how powerful those are in our communities. I mean, the racism and classism are as big a characters as Destiny and Chase. And I wanted to really talk about a changing America and my own family history of having my family help settle that island. And so it was a story I wanted to tell, and it's finally on Barnes & Noble shelves.
Now, you've gotten a pretty big endorsement on this book from the late Dr. Maya Angelou.
That's right.
She didn't want the story to end, right?
That's right. In fact, when Dr. Maya Angelou says, you keep the story going, Miss Watts, you wanted a sequel, you better sit down and start working on that sequel. And that's what I'm doing. But yes, she loved the book. And as I said, she was just angry that it ended and thought there was so much more to go. And so it is a contemporary romance series. And for those people who wonder, is any of this on your own life? It's also creative nonfiction. There is a lot of truth in it, like a lot of I remember the Jim Crow era growing up in North Carolina. And a lot of those stories that we talk about in that are my stories, or true stories. So it was a good story about healing and about a changing America, and also about great friendship, love, revenge, and betrayal and deceit.
So in this day and age where you can get instant feedback with social media, are you getting positive feedback from your fans about this book?
Yes, I am. In fact, Publishers Weekly just came out with my first review. That's the highly coveted review.
Yeah.
And they were just saying that it so powerfully depicts racism and classism, as well as love, lost, and regained. And we're getting some very good reviews. I think I have a 4.5 star on Amazon. You can go and read the reviews there. But everybody's saying that they can't put it down. It's a page turner, and that's good. I wanted it to be a nice kickoff of summer read. But as it's turning out, Rob, it just is so so relevant to the things we're talking about today in terms of race and class, that people are not only getting a good summer read, but getting some stuff to think about too. It's the tale of two very different families. Destiny comes from a very bourgeois family that looks down at everybody, and Chase comes from a very poor family. They have a racist parents. So they're trying to find their way in a new world and make their own world based on love. So it's some good stuff in there.
Now, are you a big social media lover? I mean, do you try to interact with your fans as much as possible if you have the time to do so?
Absolutely. I'm very much involved in social media. And you can find me at Rolonda Watts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And that's Rolonda. Yes, I'm very much involved with my social media.
Now, do you have a favorite where fans can more apt find you on a regular basis?
Yeah, my Rolonda Watts fan page. I mean, the public page that I have on Facebook. That's where I am most of the time.
And besides your new book, Destiny Lingers, what else do you have going on at the moment that my listeners might be interested in? Any current projects or future projects on the horizon?
Absolutely. Well, listen. If you're in Los Angeles on August 31st, I'm going to be at the world famous comedy store on Sunset, where Jay Leno got his start, Whoopi Goldberg got her start. I'll be in the main room on August 31st, so please come out and check 8 o'clock show. Come and check that out. I also have a recurring role on Bounce TV, In the Cut. You can go online and get the Bounce TV app and watch that. That's coming up. And got some other projects coming up this fall that I can't talk about, but some good TV projects coming up.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, do you have any final words or anything you would like to say to your fans out there who might be listening, who have supported you all these years?
Yeah, I always find that I'm not the only one who has a burning story, that there's somebody listening who started some pages of a story a long time ago. Now is the time to go dust off those pages and get back behind that computer. That we all have a story to tell, and you never know how your story, somebody's out there waiting for your story to have their lives changed or enhanced because of the life that you lived and the story that you share. So I'm always encouraging my writers out there, believe in your work, believe in your story, and get there and do it. Because if I can do it, you can do it for sure. And just work on one page a day, and in 365 days, you'll have a full page. That's what Jackie Collins told me, Rob. She said, just write a page a day, and at the end of the year, you'll have a novel, 365 pages. That's
a great piece of advice, yeah. And if you want any more information on what Rolonda is up to, make sure you check out Rolonda.com. Rolonda, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I wish you nothing but the best of luck moving forward in life.
Okay, thank you so much, Rob.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.